So for like the 3 people that watch my videos that remember the Nostalgia Critic, this is my personal Doug Funny moment. But growing up, whenever I'd reveal my name to people, I was just blasted with the comments, "Hey Otto, where's your school bus?" And "My name is Otto, and I love to get blotto," was thrown at me like multiple times. And it was funny at first, but it eventually just kind of wore thin. I think the most interesting thing about going through the first 10 to 12 seasons is you can really see what characters certain writers and showrunners had a preference for and which ones they didn't much care for. Like, we all know that Bill Oakley and Josh Weinstein were not big on Barney Gumble, to a point that they wanted to have him be the one who shot Mr. Burns and end up in prison so that they just didn't have to use him. With that being said, I think Otto is a character in The Simpsons that was never used to his full potential. Him being a role model for Bart, and yes, this is not a good thing, is something that really could have been played on, but instead he kind of fell into a typecast territory where if they needed a pathetic loser for a gag, they used him. When the writers started throwing in more pot humor, they used him. Him being a pathetic burnout could have been flexed for a lot of episodes, but oddly enough, despite appearing in many episodes in the prime years, his appearances were relegated to short little gags or cameos. He only ever really had one episode where his appearance was of any importance, and that's one of my favorite season 3 episodes, The Otto Show. Character spotlight episodes are always fun because seeing the world outside of the Simpsons family makes for some interesting stories. I'm sure had they known the show would evolve to include full-on episodes following side characters, they would have just called the show Springfield. But nevertheless, The Otto Show is a fun look at our favorite burnout metalhead, Otto Man.
That's what my driver's license says!
The Otto Show has the most bizarre opening plot I've ever seen in The Simpsons. Basically, in the universe of The Simpsons, Spinal Tap exists. It's canon. This is fucking weird, but really funny. It's sort of an unofficial sequel to the Spinal Tap movie in a way. Bart and Milhouse go to the concert, and just about anything that can go wrong at a rock concert goes wrong. From the place being filled with water due to being a hockey rink.
Yeah, well, this is a rock concert, not the bleeding splish splash show.
To the band walking off after 20 minutes and causing a riot. But from there, it goes to a plot about Bart wanting to be a rock star. Bart visualizing his rock career as a fun little pop culture reference to both the Sex Pistols and later Guns N' Roses. And that image of Bart wasted and that groan is a popular image in video to send between my friends to describe a hangover. Bart learning the guitar and being bad at it is a very relatable thing. Like, I never wanted to learn the guitar, but I'm sure every kid had something like karate or a sport or an instrument or whatever that they were super gung-ho to get into, but it just didn't work out. Not me though, because my parents never really let me pursue anything because of some incident where they signed me up for t-ball and I wasn't into it because I was a fucking 3-year-old with undiagnosed ADHD. Something my parents cited as a reason for not ever pushing me into any sort of interest for a literal decade and a half of childhood. Like, I think the closest thing my parents ever tried to push me to do was acting, but that fucking went away really fast. Thanks, Mom and Dad. If you ever wonder why I'm such an unmotivated sack of shit, that's why. This image of Otto shredding on the guitar is just another meme in my inner circle. Like, anytime there's like a hard going guitar, I just fucking drop this fucking gif, and me and my friends have a good laugh. Alright, so this is a part I never realized how funny it was. When Otto's speeding to get the kids to school after getting carried away playing guitar, he just like runs Spinal Tap off the road, causing their bus to explode, which if this is considered canon to the movie, Otto just killed off Spinal Tap. And to add to how fucking outrageous this is, Skinner's reaction...
It's a miracle no one was hurt.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. They're just like, nobody cares, it's funny. So at about the halfway point of the episode, Otto has reached the lowest point of his life within this episode, and honestly, a lot of us losers have been there. He loses his job, he gets evicted, and he ends up sleeping in a dumpster.
Oh man, I wish. Dumpster brand trash bins are top of the line. This is just a trash waste disposal unit.
When I was a kid, I couldn't understand this line because I didn't know what chutney was, and because of Apu's accent, I thought he was saying chocolate, but yeah, the idea of a chutney squishy sounds pretty fucking gross.
You can really taste the chutney.
The Otto Show is a bizarre episode because I don't know if it has a B-plot or not. Like, I guess it kind of does. You have Skinner trying to drive the bus, and it just goes terribly for him.
Let me in! Let me in!
But funny as that may be, and believe me, it's like one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and something that I quote constantly, it's not really a B-plot, it's more of like an extended gag, and also early Ralph appearance.
He steps on the clutch and the toilet goes flush. Hail to the...
Shut up!
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the or one of the first episodes to mention that Skinner was in Vietnam. I didn't do any extended research into it. I'm not sifting through a bunch of crap that they established in later episodes just to confirm this, but I'm like 90% sure that this is the first mention of Skinner having served in Vietnam. On the other end of things, we get a look at Patty and Selma, and Otto asks Patty a very, very insensitive question.
Do good, I use the green pen. When you do bad, I use the red pen. Any questions?
Yeah, one. Have you always been a chick? I mean, I don't want to offend you, but you were born a man, weren't you? You can tell me, I'm open-minded.
I won't be needing this.
I kind of like how this episode just goes around Springfield and kind of explores some traits of other characters, but it's also a full-on spotlight episode for Otto. It's strange looking at this much introspection into the dynamic between Bart and Otto, because Bart is relatively close to ending up like Otto in the future, and I can only imagine that Otto, as a kid, was a lot like Bart. Like, I imagine Otto didn't take school seriously at all when he was Bart's age, and then he was probably a teenager in the 80s, so he spent a lot of his time partying and trying to live the rock star lifestyle despite not being a rock star. It's even reflected in the earlier guitar scene.
I didn't know you played the guitar, Otto man.
Hey, that's all I did in high school. My old man said I was wasting my time and I'd never amount to anything.
Which, like, I don't know, man, his guitar skills are pretty good. Like, if anything, it wasn't that he was wasting his time on the guitar, it's that Otto just didn't know how to follow through, which is a problem with a lot of people like myself and like Otto. I would like to see an Otto flashback episode that maybe shows him in the 80s. That probably wouldn't work now because The Simpsons uses comic book time and scales the timeline to be more current. They'd probably make him like a new metal guitarist or something, but either way, it would be interesting to see how Otto got to where he is. The earlier Admiral joke is clearly a reference to Jim Morrison of The Doors, and he himself is similar to many adult figures that people from that generation had growing up. Like, my dad told me about his school bus driver when he was in middle school, always playing the rock music on the bus and buying him cigarettes and shit. So really, he's just a stereotype of the cool bus driver trope that probably many Gen X's, like my dad and like the writers of The Simpsons, ran into. The Otto Show is a rare Simpsons episode where the opening plot transitions into the main plot almost seamlessly, and it specializes in introducing the plot and then completely refreshing it. And this is a high-risk move for a show that is 22 minutes at the most, but they actually make it work pretty well. It goes from the opening plot to the introduction of the main plot with Otto's downfall, to Otto trying to get his bus driver's license and completely failing, to a new plot where Otto stays with the Simpsons and develops an issue with Homer. I honestly wish we got more of Otto and Homer at odds with each other, because naturally that is a rivalry that would work, because Homer doesn't like Otto, Bart looks up to Otto. There could be a whole thing where Homer doesn't want Bart to end up like Otto. The next time we see Homer and Otto in a plot together, it's that stupid weed episode where they're smoking up, but they really should have totally played this up more throughout the series. And right here, it's not because Otto's a bad influence on Bart, but because he's a bum. And Homer plays more of an authoritarian father here, not liking Otto's freeloading. And going back to my earlier statement, tell me this sounds familiar to a lot of my fellow Gen Ys, when Homer asks Bart why he isn't playing his guitar anymore, and Bart explains,
I wasn't good at it right away, so I quit.
Honestly, one aspect of myself I hated growing up was that I never really was able to follow through with anything, and it's still something I kind of deal with today. I think this YouTube channel is the first thing I've like deeply followed through on, and I'm happy that all of you still watch me. The scenes of Otto bumming around the house really tie the episode together, and another part that hits kind of close is when Marge tries to motivate him. Like, I was never really taught what to do in a situation where I failed. I'm sure my parents tried to encourage me to do like something, or they told me to just give up. I don't quite remember.
I tried! Oh, Lord, how I did try.
But that line speaks to me. Going back to my previous comments, the Otto Homer shit is great. Otto just constantly does these little things in Homer's house that drives him insane, and it all culminates in one of the most hilarious moments in the third season. The fucking When a Stranger Calls retelling that Otto gives Lisa as a bedtime story. Yeah, I never did this or had this done to me, but I knew kids with older siblings that would purposely tell them scary stories to fuck with them. And he just kills it with this one.
Did the maniac kill her?
Natch! And you know how I know?
How?
Because I was that maniac. I was just kidding.
Lisa's overreaction combined with Otto's like underreaction and desperate attempt to calm her down is like grade A comedy. Like, I just love how futile it is, and Lisa's scream is really brutal.
I was just kidding.
So alright, we do get a positive ending and the start of a minor running gag that's called back in season 5 when Otto knocks out Gary Cooney. Otto snaps after being called a sponge and shatters the brick wall of the DMV and then just goes in with full confidence, fueled by hatred. He manages to play to Selma's mutual hatred of Homer.
Why?
So I can staple my license to Homer Simpson's big bald head.
Really?
And is able to get his license under a probationary status. In the end, the status quo is preserved, and we get a nice little side character spotlight story of a man with low motivation learning to be motivated and get his bus license back. So what can I say about the Otto Show? Is it a perfect episode? No, but I still love it. It's easily a personal top 10 episode for me. The story is grounded even if some of the moments aren't. It hits a lot of notes with things, and it gives a background to a character that I feel is underappreciated. And sadly, the show never really played on the aspect that if Otto does put his mind to something, that he can make shit happen. Instead, he just became the pot humor character, which is a damn shame. What makes it interesting is that it's a look at what Bart could end up being like as an adult. Bart always looked up to Otto, and yeah, we don't always look up to the right people when we're kids, but honestly, I think kids need someone like this to look up to so that when they're older, they can realize that they were wrong. Either way, in my opinion, the Otto Show is quite frankly one of the most underrated episodes of season 3 and one of the most underrated episodes of the series. It's one of the funniest I've ever seen. Like, Otto in the dumpster is a great moment, the Spinal Tap concert is hilarious, Homer's irritation with Otto and Skinner on the bus. Like, nobody really talks about this episode, but they should, because it's not just a cautionary tale about being careful who you look up to and the importance of following through, but it's also a personal statement about the writers themselves. Hey Lisa! I am more than comfortable going as far as to give this episode an 8.5 out of 10. Near legendary status, and that's just personal bias because I love this episode. What are your thoughts on the Otto Show? Let me know in the comments. And I got one more character spotlight episode I'm gonna do in a little bit. Will it be as good or will it be shitty? I don't know. I'll let you know when I find out. So like, subscribe, or don't, whatever, bye.
I don't know about this, Bart, dude. Your dad is right. I am a bum.
He didn't call you a bum. He called you a sponge.
A garage. Somebody up there likes me.